Slater, Blythe, and Rodrigo.
My real babysitter, Nancy, she does what I want her to do.
I'm not a real babysitter. I'm more of a sit on the couch. What's up, you little tampon? Do whatever I say or I'll kill you type of babysitter. Ah! You sprayed perfume in my mouth.
I hate you.
I'll destroy you. Ah! You did it again.
I'm at a party. Do you want to come?
I probably shouldn't.
I was thinking we could have sex.
Yeah, maybe I could work something out.
Kids, fasten your seatbelt.
Shut up.
Right?
I used to have a friend of mine, whenever she would like describe, she would say, tell me what you've seen. And she would see movies all the time too. And I said, I saw this shitter. and then I said, well, I saw this shitter. And I was like, and the whole time I was watching this movie, that's what I was thinking, shitter. This is a terrible film, man.
I think that's putting it mildly, really. This is one of those, it's one of those films that's so terrible that it almost comes back around to being watchable. You know what I mean? Where you tell your friends, I don't even know how to tell you why all the ways in which this was terrible. You just have to see it for yourself.
It already gets you exhausted, right? When you want to tell somebody how bad it is. This movie has been in the shitter and back. Looking at the film, I was like, wow, how old is this? Because look at Jonah Hill. He is huge in this.
I no doubt. I thought it was called The Sitter because that's all he does is sit.
Yeah.
He's so fat.
He's huge. And the thing is that you can really tell because more than likely you're going to get a trailer for 21 Jump Street where he looks like he's been deflated.
Yeah.
He doesn't look good. He almost looks unhealthy, like he's dying of some incurable disease.
Well, this is like,
it's nuts when you see the movie. You're like, okay, how old is this, and how long has the studio been like, keeping this in the back shelf?
Yeah, this is pre-fat Jonah Hill. It's like
this goes beyond.
It's like when he was way fatter than the fat that we even used to seeing. We're like, damn, I forgot he used to be that big.
Yeah,
and bad idea showing a trailer for 21 Jump Street before they show this movie because
creepy.
that just goes to show you how long the studio said, no, we can't release this yet.
And yet that
bad.
was the least of the bad ideas associated with this film. I don't even know where to begin. Where do you start? Is it the way that it seemed like it was edited by Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah.
That it just edited so much that it doesn't even make sense at points? And this is a rated R comedy. Is it bad because it's got a sitter who they try and tell you at the beginning, you're just such a nice guy, who proceeds to take this group of very small children into the city on a cocaine run?
Yeah. That's what's so crazy about this movie. I'm not offended, but I'm just confused that, wow, you had to go that far to be a black comedy where you made Jonah Hill a loser who decides to steal these kids their parents' car while he's babysitting them, and take them out on a quest for cocaine that he's looking for his bitch ass drug addict girlfriend.
Yeah.
And and that's not even the most confusing about it. It's like, see, this is one of those comedies where somebody had a premise that was so dark. They're like, hey, man, you want to be really edgy? Let's have Jonah Hill take these kids out looking for cocaine. But then nobody thought what to do after that.
I think somebody was on coke and watching Adventures in Babysitting and said, oh, God, we can totally do this except make it about coke.
Yeah. We have kids running around with a coke head and you take them to bars. You got gang fights. You got a guy chasing kids with a gun. I mean, even though that happened in Adventures in Babysitting, but it was done well.
It made sense there because the character actually had sympathetic motivation. She was in a situation she had no choice but to be in. Here, you've got Jonah Hill, who's like, just fine, could have stayed home with these kids. Yeah, they're kind of brats, but they're not like the worst kids ever. Well, maybe the Mexican kid is, but, he's pretty bad. He's blowing shit up all over the place. But, actually, he's El Salvadorian.
He's from El Salvador, which he was, I mean, that's the other thing about this movie. This movie, the stereotypes in this movie are so one-dimensional that they become monotypes because they're so
sense.
badly written, and they're there for the obvious joke. Oh, look at that Mexican kid. Look how funny he talks. And oh, look, there's black people. Look how crazy they are with their thuggistry.
So much that doesn't make sense. Like, okay, so you talk about Adventures in Babysitting. It reminded you of the scene where she goes into the blues bar and wins over this whole crowd of black people by getting up there and singing blues with the kids. And they're like, that was really funny. It was pretty brave of you to get up there. All right. And you're like, okay, I can kind of buy that because it was cute. Here, Jonah Hill goes into the big bar full of like hip black people and wins them over by talking like a wigger.
Yeah,
I don't really know what just happened.
That's what's so bad about this movie is that, outside of its premise where they think that, we're so shocking, we can just get by on that, they had nothing to do after that. It's one of those films where when they don't have an idea, they just choose to put these characters on a night. What you doing, Dr. Doom?
She's attacking me.
Is she still attacking your balls?
She is. She's going after them with those. Like I said, this is the one who edited this film because her nails are just crazy.
After I get through editing Cyrus's balls, I'm going to go edit the sitter. For some reason, I hate to stop the podcast, but for some reason, when Cyrus sits over there, this cat likes to come over here and play keyboard on Cyrus's balls.
I tell you what, they're just that big.
I don't know. Do you want that on purpose? Do you sprinkle catnip on your groin area when you
set them out? Got it so big, I got to take them around with a wheelbarrow. Excuse me.
You got legs wide open there.
You need a ball babysitter.
Yeah, sit these balls over here. But you know what,
as long as it's not Jonah Hill.
Yeah, when they don't know what to do with it, it's just another example of a film where they had these characters go on these random adventures. Now, there's no real story here. You can tell that somehow they just said, hey, you know what'd be funny? If we had them go here and this happened. Oh, you know what else would be funny? If they went here and this happened. Hey, you know what? These are a bunch of white kids and one El Salvadorian kid. We'd be funny if they go in the wrong part of town and run into scary black people. Now, how many times have we seen that in the movie? Oh, they're going to get stopped by the police when they have like illegal drugs or this guy's been in a lot of trouble tonight. How many times have we seen that in the movie? There's all these random things that it's bad enough that they don't have a story for it, but these are gags that we've seen in some form or another in other films.
We've seen them to death. With this movie, though, it's like as soon as you're about to like get into something that resembles a fucking plot, the movie cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like as soon as somebody's like, "You're not a bad kid," they're in the car. Well, they're in the car running away from whoever they encountered in the first place.
I feel like I would love to see the director's cut or whatever of this.
Do you?
But I wonder if there even is anymore because there's no way, like the script, the way it's built, that there's missing scenes that would make it better. Yeah. You know what I mean? And yet it's still so goddamn ridiculously choppy that it is kind of like I felt almost like I was entering into a dream watching this film.
A fucking terrible dream, a bad dream.
It felt like a dream the way one thing stops and then you're suddenly somewhere else entirely and you have no idea how you got there, but you just go, well, no, yeah, I'm here.
No, that's what, and it's one, I mean, you could make this possibly work. Like sometimes situations don't really have to make sense or they don't have to segue in each other that is smooth. I mean, you can have that happen if your characters are likable. But first of all, they introduced Jonah Hill, who I don't care how nice the guy is. The guy's kind of an asshole. I mean, the guy just leeches off his mother all day. He don't want to get a job. He's spoiled, and it's one thing to be an asshole, but then he's a loser on top of that. He rides his bike everywhere. I mean, this guy...
He's irresponsible to the point of being a criminal.
Well, this guy, yeah, he said he's going to jail. I was like, man, this guy, he hasn't earned the right to be a criminal. He hasn't earned the right to be... an asshole. He's still kind of a geeky, nerdy type. I was like, you ain't cool enough to do all this shit with the attitude that you have. And then these fucking kids in this movie, man, I'm looking at the names of these kids right now, who the kids are actually, they're all right. The kids are Slater, Blythe, and Rodrigo.
And they're all grown up now.
Yeah, I know. They're like in college by now. But
they're all doing coke, yeah.
If you go by the Jonah Hill fat scale of time, and I'm going to let you guess which one is Rodrigo, by the way. And they're played by Max Records, Landry Bender, and Kyle Bunbury.
Wait, the guy's name is Max Records?
And Max Records...
Is he a rap star now?
If he's not a rap star, he needs to own the next chain of whatever the form of music's going to be in the future.
That chain's going to close real quick if he's selling records.
Oh, and that is the kid that was in Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but those kids, man, it's one thing to hate Jonah Hill. Then you hate his girlfriend, who's just a bitch to him, and it's like, man, maybe these kids will make a difference when they come up. those kids are some of the most badass kids that I've seen in movies. That I hate to hate children, because I like children, but I hate these bitches here.
Well, it's funny because like I hated the kids the least of anyone in this film, which doesn't tell you anything about me liking the kids per se. It's just everyone else was so much more horrible that you at least give them a break because, well, they are kids. But you're right. They're just like each has a one-note joke around them. Like the little girl is like obsessed with being a celebutante and acts like a little stuck up little prissy miss all day. And so what? There's nothing else, but that's all she's got. The other kid is like totally neurotic and like is afraid of everything and has to take his pills.
Yeah, that's the boy.
That's all he's got.
Yeah.
And then you got the Mexican the robot kid.
That kid didn't know who the fuck he was playing.
Yeah, who was just like, okay, don't worry about it. You're just like
just be Mexican.
Yeah.
Well, no,
right.
You know what they did, and that's another thing that we see in movies. The kid was obsessed with explosives.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know what to do with that kid. You thought he was going to be like a little Scarface kind of kid, a little dangerous kid. Then he turned into a brat, breaking things and looking at Jonah Hill like, you clean up. And then he was like obsessed with explosives. And it's like, narrow it down to one shitty thing that this kid does.
Well, the worst thing is that they try to give him a story that he can't even finish because the goddamn camera cuts right when he's about to say, why he's so pissed all the time and why he's blowing up shit.
Yeah.
And the camera's like, all right, we got to keep going. We got to keep this movie moving. I mean, we got bills to pay. And
seriously, this ain't a documentary, kid. Get the fuck out of here. Just look cute.
Well, you guys are talking about everyone you hate. I'm like, you should be hating on this goddamn director because this should have been an Alan Smithy film. I don't know how anyone, even the director or even the studio,
you know who directed
could
this?
look. Yeah, I do know who directed this.
No, I don't.
Tell him.
David Gordon Green, the guy directed Pineapple Express. I never liked Pineapple Express myself.
I liked it. I didn't love it. Some people were crazy about it. I was like, okay, it's all right.
Pineapple Express was, I called it sloppy at the time. And
shit,
I kind of have to. I still don't like Pineapple Express, but Pineapple Express, I'm sorry. Okay, this movie here is sloppy.
Pineapple Express
this is beyond sloppy. I mean,
Pineapple Express is like the flawlessness of math compared to this, which is just like someone took a bunch of plots and cut them up and threw them on the floor and just started picking shit up. It's like you said, have people improv comedy scenes lately? Like that's the big thing. Okay, here's the setup. Now go. This feels like a movie that they just said, here's the outside plot. We're starting with Jonah Hill's babysitter. These are the kids. These are their defaults. Now go. And the entire film was made up on whatever they drove past. Yeah, let's film something there and just make it up.
Oh yeah. This is the writer and the director taking a shit on the floor and trying to piece something up to resemble a movie.
Yeah.
And the worst about it is that they can't even figure out what fucking time period they want this movie to be in, because as the movie starts, you hear all this like old hip hop music from like the 80s. And when you're watching the film, you're like, okay, well, is this set in the 80s or what's going on here? Because when they're watching TV, you see like old 80s TV shows or you'll see an 80s movie. And then you realize, oh, wait, they're using cell phones. Oh, they're watching that old 80s TV show on a big flat screen TV.
Probably because they're trying to connect themselves to Adventures of Babysitting, which is a bad idea.
When you have a director or a producer, someone who's from a certain period like the 80s or the early 90s, for some reason they think it's cool to put the soundtrack of their lives in the film.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't realize, like, okay, playing like Biz Markie, you got what I need, or Slick Rick, the Far Side is like, that ain't got shit to do whatever is happening in this movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jonah Hill's not listening to that.
Yeah, he's not even listening to it.
Well, come on, it was obviously a fantasy anyway. I mean, right off the bat, he's like, the movie opens with him going down on a hot chick. And this is Jonah Hill at his fattest. This is Jonah Hill when he was still working as the Goodyear blimp during the Super Bowl.
But you say like his head would have crushed up pelvis if he just rested his head on top of it. That's how fat he is.
And then later, there's an even hotter chick who just thinks he's cool out of nowhere. There's nothing to do with anything except that they had to find a way to give him a back door to get away from the shitty girl he was dating.
Oh yeah, no,
it's a Hollywood wet dream is all it is. It's all it is.
But that's the way this movie is. Everything happens by coincidence throughout the course of the night when Jonah Hill is like trying to, when he's on this adventure to find cocaine for his girlfriend. Their car gets stolen. Of course their car gets stolen. But it's funny, like, they're just randomly walking down the street. By the way, when they first lost the car, they're like, oh, shit, the car. Oh, shit. They had forgot about that car, like, after 5 minutes. They're just walking down the street having a good time, and then it's like, hey, that looks like my mom's car. Oh, yeah, kids, let's get in the car and follow it and get it back. I was like, just coincidences, random shit happen like that. That's how poorly written the movie is. Everything happens by coincidence. You know, Jonah Hill meets this girl that he used to go to college with. And this girl, by the way, I don't know the actress's name, but she's black. You know, I say that, but she's about as Ivy League, upper middle class.
She's a Cosby.
Black, as black as you can get.
Once you throw up next to the thugs,
she's about as bumpy black as you can get. She's Bumpy the Vampire Slayer.
She might as well run in right in on a goddamn white horse.
On a white horse, yes. This girl is practically white. You know, she's just a white chick with a dark tan. But and then Jonah Hill ends up in the scary black part of town, and he's about to get beat down by this girl gangster, and all of a sudden, and the place is full of black thugs, all of a sudden, this white black chick comes out of nowhere. Jonah, what are you doing here? And it's like, bitch, what are you doing here?
Exactly. I was like, wait, what? Why would she be at the thug bar?
Yeah, she should be hanging out with the white college boys.
All that's for you, so you can go and look at her. It's like, wow, she speaks well.
Yeah, exactly. She speaks so well, and she saves white people so well. Yeah. No, and speaking of the white people, the scary black people in this movie.
I know I'm confused myself.
I know but after this movie, you can't help but be, especially after that scene I was just talking about. But, speaking of the scary black people in this movie, ain't nothing I hate more in Hollywood than Hollywood black. And you know what Hollywood black is. It's like, it's even thugs, that would be too black for them. Like Jonah Hill keeps running to this girl who apparently has some history with where she doesn't like him. I'm not going to explain what it is. Just go see the movie and find out for yourself. But they just over gangster her. She comes out and she has that thing where, a white person wrote it where they're like, oh, no, that's not scary enough. We got to make them, throwing all these words. And
we got to make this shit Walmart scary.
Yeah, exactly. So she comes out and, it's one of those things where, when she's talking to Jonah Hill, she can't ever call him by his name in the movie, which is Noah. She's got to say, even though she knows him, she's got like, what you doing here, white boy? Talking to me like that? You better step off from something. It's like
I even love where she said, "Your kind is not welcome here."
Welcome here, boy. And it's like, man, I hate that in movies where the white writers write the black characters too black.
Oh yeah, just ridiculous.
You're wondering, is the director telling them, you know what? Can you blacken it up a bit?
Yeah. I'm not scared enough. I haven't shit on myself yet.
Can you turn up the bass and turn down the treble?
Write that dialogue up, and I want to be hiding under my desk next time I read this script.
And it's embarrassing.
I hate black people after I read this script.
It's the weirdness of all this bad stuff we're saying, though, and the way it all piles up, and the fact that Sam Rockwell plays this inexplicable, bizarro drug gangster. There's just no explaining what they were. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't have a clue what they were. No one could possibly understand what they were thinking with this character. But it's so absurd, all these things taken together, that it's almost all kind of mesmerizing in a way.
What was more embarrassing?
Not in a good way. It's not a good movie. This is the worst piece of shit probably this year. But yet, I could not tear my eyes from it because it was one thing after another that was so bad. You were agape.
Because I honestly thought what was more embarrassing than seeing all those terrible stereotypes was seeing Sam Rockwell in this movie.
Yeah,
just phoning it in, and I'm like, dude. Wow, I would have fought. I would have called the lawyers and begged them, fought for this movie not to have played.
Another reason why
so fucking bad.
This has to be an older film. It has to have been shelved because Rockwell is bigger now, and he probably wouldn't take this.
He probably wouldn't do this, but and what's so embarrassing about him being in the movie is just the situation that he's in. You mentioned comparisons to other films Adventures in Babysitting. They go to the black part of town and they have that scene there as they do in this film. But I was thinking about other movies that have, throughout the course of one night, one long crazy adventure.
After Hours
is one, and Go is one.
Yeah.
And Sam Rockwell, his role is taken directally out of Go.
See, I thought it was more True Romance.
I was going to say
the Gary Oldman character.
I was thinking of
Timothy
Olyphant and Go, where one of the chicks in the movie loses his drugs. He comes after her. First of all, that's in a lot of films.
Yeah,
right.
Of course, it's in this movie. And Sam Rockwell comes out as the drug dealer who is coming after them, because somehow his cocaine got misplaced, and
he needs to be the villain.
And it is kind of a funny scene at first because it's one of the most surreal scenes in the movie. It's like Jonah Hill has to go to him to get the cocaine for his girlfriend. And starts out with a guy roller skating. Then they go deeper into the place, and there's a bunch of bodybuilders and all
steroided out.
And if they're not bodybuilding, then they're sitting up there doing drugs. And Sam Rockwell is obviously some sort of like, they hint at him being some crazed out, coked out gay guy. And that's what pisses me off about this film, is that there are so many. I mean, I'm talking about the scary black people, but the movie doesn't do well for anybody. It has the nerve to even try to justify its stereotypes, its racism, it almost like its homophobic images, by coming in and trying to balance that with messages. That's one of the things I hate about this movie. Every kid in this movie, it's 3 kids, so every kid gets a moment where Jonah Hill stops
and fixes their shit.
And fixes their shit. I gives them a speech, but then it's followed up by, kid, you're not so bad. You're special. Believe in yourself. Now let's go get that cocaine.
Yeah. Because they had to fill their Adventures in Babysitting quota.
Yeah.
I mean,
in Adventures in Babysitting, it made sense the way she came across to these kids, and they all became friends. Here, it's not till they go, fuck, we're running out of time, that they suddenly just knock all 3 out right in a row. Like, oh, and by the way, you're fixed because of this, and you're fixed because of this, and you're fixed because of this, and you know what? You've been able to go home the entire time. All you had to do was click your ruby heels together. I just say, what the fuck is this shit? There's no reason they should all get along at all. These kids should be terrified of this guy.
Oh yeah. No, from the moment that he enters the scene and the way he's treating these kids, and he doesn't. It's not 5 minutes before his girlfriend calls and says, "Give me some cocaine," and he's like, "Kids, I'm gonna steal your parents' car and we're gonna go get candy." And it's like, man, why am I supposed to care about anything after this? And that whole thing about, now there is one speech in this movie where I was like, this is admirable. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a speech about homosexuality, and it's kind of a sweet speech.
It is kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah, telling somebody to be, don't be afraid to be who you are. And I'm like, wow, this movie does have a heart. And oh, wait a minute, there's the gay stereotype on skates again. There's JB Smoove, or what's his name, JD Smoove.
Amos and Andy pop in the frame.
I'm talking about the guy from the black character that was hanging around with Sam Rockwell.
The guy who was
JB Smoove. He's going through the whole movie. Hey, you better hope this motherfucker. And I'm just like, man, this movie is offensive. I hate to be that guy that's that sensitive, but
no, it is, because when I see it, I was like, whoa, okay.
And the little El Salvadorian kid, the way he's just, Joe, I get you, I kill you. What is that? What's that word for asshole in Spanish? Cabrón, culo. I was like, man, why don't you just make this kid Speedy Gonzalez?
I know. No, I was like, why don't you make him Sofia Vergara? He's pissed off this kid wanted a role.
I'd be weirded out if that kid had huge tits.
In this movie, I wouldn't at a certain point.
Might as well.
If you want, just and let's pull back. I'm not even. If you want, just pull back the sensitivity level a little bit, and all you out there calling me a liberal and everything, but there's just so many types in this movie. There's the father that just doesn't give a shit about his son, to the point like, man, that's harsh. Even for a character in a movie like this, would somebody really be that cold? The father of the family that he's babysitting for, just being a dick for no reason.
They should have focused on the director, who doesn't give a shit about his movie.
Yeah,
really. If you want to get down to it.
Yeah, man. What can I tell you? There are some things I'll chuckle at. I even chuckled at some of the stereotypes in the movie, like that old dude that was watching the door. It's in the trailer. That guy's like, "Hey man, ain't no kids allowed in this place." He's like, "Hey man, I fly. Oh, you like to fly?"
What's happening, my man? How you doing, man? You know this ain't no place for no kids.
These aren't kids, these are little people. This woman's 48 years old. Her children have children.
I'm a grandma.
All right.
What's your name, baby?
They call me Soul Baby.
Soul, baby?
Yeah.
Keep it in control, baby.
I hear you, baby.
My name's Noah J. Bird.
Noah J. Bird?
Caw-caw!
Oh, you like to fly?
I fly, baby.
Fly away, baby.
In the clouds, no frowns.
All right, now that's what I'm talking about.
Tears, no fears, man.
All right, that's what I'm talking about, baby. My brother.
Well, see, that was the only guy they got right. I know that guy. I see him every time I get pissed and I'm depressed and I go to the bar to drink. That guy.
You a
What's
bad
up?
white boy. Wrong with yourself, bad motherfucker. I kind of like that guy.
Yeah.
Some stereotypes.
Keep your head high in the sky.
No, man. This movie is poorly written, and it poorly writes stuff that has been poorly written before it. This is stuff that we've seen before, taken to a whole new bad level, man. This is so real bad. I almost gave it a fuck you because I was offended by it, but There were a few chuckles in there that I laughed at some of the stereotypes. So I said, you know what? I'm guilty too. So it's full of just complete unlikable characters. There's nobody for a black comedy, you need someone to root for. And this half-hearted thing that they did at trying to have a message or a heart in this movie, that's false and it doesn't work. This movie is full of shit, and therefore it is straight up some old bullshit.
You know, it's funny because, like, I mean, on the outside, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's probably actually is a fuck you if you were just looking at, like, grade of movie. It's Z grade. But as I keep trying to emphasize, there's something about all the things about this film that are so horrible that they turn into this swirling miasma of hallucinatory I don't even know what it's like going to Willy Wonka land of badness.
Hey, that's entertaining.
But I don't understand, but I was with it because I couldn't wait to see how badly they were going to fuck up the next scene.
A world of never-ending bullshit.
In that end, it never lets you down. I mean, you're just like this early on. You're like, wow, this is bad. I got to see how bad this is going to get. And it's never like piss you off bad. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm angry because your expectations are so low from the. But, you know, I mean, come on, Jonah Hill going down on a girl is how it starts. You know, this film is not going to be like legendary.
As soon as you think, is that the CG head of Jabba the Hutt coming up from that chick's vagina?
No, that might as well been the CG head of Jonah Hill.
But it doesn't do like a lot of gross out jokes and stuff like movie like this usually does.
That's true.
Would have really pissed me off. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. It's just so absurd, especially with Sam Rockwell, whose character doesn't make any sense at all. It's like they just dreamed the entire thing. And I'm going to give this a low rental because for God's sakes, you've got to actually see this thing. I mean, you really do actually have to see it. Just don't pay to see it if you can help it. It's that bad.
I don't know. I'd be offended if somebody told me to download this. I mean, really, out of all the cool shit I can download, you're going to tell me to download this fucking movie to see some bad stereotypes and bad directing, bad editing, bad just about everything across the board. I mean, wiping my ass with this movie would be like wiping my ass with shit, and it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to do that. I gotta clean the shit off my ass.
So, I gotta get some shit.
I cleaned the shit. I tried to clean shit with shit, and that just doesn't work. So no, this movie's getting a major fuck you, and I mean a fuck you to this movie and the goddamn minivan that it rode in on. No, I mean I was really. I mean I've been sleep deprived for all day. And watching this, I wanted to fucking put a bullet in my head. I was really thinking, who allowed this fucking movie in this theater right now? I mean, where somebody paid money to see. Oh, I paid money to see this shit. I forget. Yeah, this wasn't a screener. This wasn't a free press movie. No, fuck this movie. Fuck that director.
I know.
Fuck the writer. And fuck you, Jonah Hill, for sleepwalking through this whole goddamn movie. There wasn't a single moment of compassion from this guy dealing with the kids, only when it was written. And as soon as you felt like he got one moment right with talking to these kids, he would fuck it up with some stupid ass gag that he pulled out of his dick. I mean, I'm sorry.
And plus it's Jonah Hill.
It's Jonah Hill, and he's not trying. Yeah,
it's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Rental. You better watch yourself next time you my side of town, white boy.
Low rental.
I don't care, white boy. You better watch yourself. You better step off.
You better
What are you talking
check
about?
yourself before you rickety wreck yourself.
I'm just flying, baby. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm down in his house.
All right, then. That's a cool white boy right there. Oh, that's a bad motherfucker.
Oh, come on! I've been stuck babysitting these three kids. I know him. He's a friend. That looks good. What is that? I'm being chased by two insane drug dealers, and I came for my keys to my minivan, and that's what's up.